You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your host, Thomas Ahrens. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jake's Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia, and Tactical Fishing Company.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.
How is everybody doing this evening, everyone? Really glad to see that everyone had a wonderful Richmond Expo. Fantastic show that Les puts on. Just a huge shout out to him and everything that he did there. Absolute blast. So without further ado, we got the man, the myth, the legend, Billy Kohls of Smith Mountain Lake Guide Service. Sir, how are you doing this evening?
Bro, while we were waiting, I'm on Facebook Marketplace and I looked up Pokemon cards.
Oh, God.
Have you ever looked at this?
It's insane.
It's insane. This dude is saying he has a portfolio worth $10,216, and there's an app, like a stock market app, that is literally updating daily what his portfolio is worth.
You mean Logan Paul?
What, he's got the $2 million Charizard, $10 million Charizard or whatever.
Yeah, something just horrifically stupid.
But some dude in Danville's literally got on here that his 1 month average, his portfolio is up $507. $10,216.
But how long is that going to last? Is that going to be your new business venture?
Are we in a Pokemon bust? Bubble? Bull?
Everything is in a bubble right now, boss. But if anyone would like to sponsor him that's a Pokemon card, he will put a Charizard on the front of his boat for you.
Oh, dude, 1,000%. I would happily wrap my boat with a Charizard. That would be awesome.
He has never said no to $20.
Yeah, correct. You sound way better than this morning, my friend. I'm glad you're
This weekend kicked my butt. I have never come home after a show and just collapsed. But I slept through the afternoon Monday and until like 10 o'clock this morning. I was not in a good space. But yeah, a huge shout out to everybody that came out there. It was the biggest turnout that we've personally had for one of these meet and greets on Saturday. It was absolutely insane. I keep saying it's imposter syndrome. I still feel like it. It's just gratitude. I'm glad I found this stuff when I was older and not when I was like 18, because I would have been a psychopath if I had something like this when I was like in high school. So yeah, thank you all. Yeah. It was fun. You've been catching them pretty good.
You deserve that, dude. You work hard. You work hard.
No, well, bless you. Not as hard as you, because you own like what, 72 businesses? 6 phones.
Starting to backtrack on that. I actually got rid of one of the phones finally.
Ooh,
what did Verizon tell me? There's no benefit to me getting rid of one of my phone numbers for one of the businesses, because Verizon likes when you have more lines. So if I got rid of it, it would cost me $10 more.
That's weird.
That's
so
crap.
freaking weird.
Total crap. But dude, life's really good. I haven't been on for a while. We made our pregnancy announcement. Charlotte turns 2 on Sunday, dude, which is wild, because I feel like we just talked about her. Like, yeah, she's literally 2 years old already.
I've been doing this way too long.
Yeah. She's 2, expecting the other one in April. I'm just praying to God that Taylor just doesn't get straight up overrun, because we try to time the babies with seasonal work that we have, but coming in April, I mean, I've got tons of guide trips in April already, so she's going to be home alone with an awesome 2-year-old and then a hopefully chill baby. But yeah, dude, just rocking that. Moved into a new house, and the boat's getting some TLC, picking it up tomorrow, and then we're jumping back on it. Guiding stayed pretty busy, honestly, for most of the year. I even had some winter trips helping people with kind of the Demiki thing, and we can talk about it a little bit as far as how I have been catching them. And then we obviously need to talk about what social media is blowing up about, which is that we're going to get 73,000 feet of snow in the next over the weekend. And I think that will honestly kill pretty much everything that I've been doing for the last 2 months, because Smith Mountain's been historically low. There's actually been a lot of like news coverage on it. AEP says it's drought. Of course, we haven't had a ton of rain, but then the moment we get like some substantial rain, it raises like 6 inches and then drops again. So the general public is not that stupid. I think they're definitely doing some sort of either work on the dam, or they're trying to maybe do something downstream. But the lake's been super down, super clear. It hasn't even honestly been that cold yet. In my opinion, we had those couple snow, flurries and stuff. And then, I mean, dude, I've been fishing in bibs, a sweatshirt, and one layer, like, pretty relaxed, but it looks like we're about to get blasted.
But as you said, we needed it, man. This has been a horrific drought. So hopefully that we do get the snow, because it'll help start filling up some of these reservoirs.
Is it the same when you up at, like, the rivers are low, like everything's low?
Oh, God, yeah, dude. Everything is in a drought, man. We haven't had rain in forever, and it's funny because a year ago this time we were talking about, was it 2 10-pounders and 11-pounder being caught out of your lake? The water was up. It was also the coldest it's been in about 100 years.
Yeah. Yep. I still think. I mean, to me, the way that it has felt for like 5 years, like it's progressively each month is getting kind of colder later. And you remember like the BFLs in March. I mean, dude, I was still catching them on a minnow in the BFLs in March. I could see it being that same thing where January was mild, December was super mild, and then maybe March ends up being really cold still. But I actually like that because, again, we talked about it before too. It pushed the spawn way back past all the tournaments, and we had a crazy good spawn here. So if that happens for a couple years in a row, that would be tremendous for the fishery. But yeah, dude, not a ton of 10-pounders. I mean, a few striper guides kind of posting here and there. Like, I get random texts from some of the guys with some really, really big ones back in December, but 7.5, 8 pounds seems to be about what big fish is taking right now, which obviously is still psychotic and awesome. But I've been catching a lot of big brown ones, which has been super, super fun.
Is that different than years past?
Honestly, here's the phrase that I keep hearing from all the buddies when I FaceTime them on what I'm doing and showing them is like, have these fish been here the whole time? Like, that's the phrase that I keep hearing from 4 or 5 guys is like, did we just not target them this way forever, but they've been out here? So I'm catching a lot of the big brown ones in sometimes 60 plus feet, which is, number one, it's wild because there's really not a ton of stuff out there. So it's taking me a really long time and really dialing in on the electronics to figure out where a hard spot is. It's not even necessarily something big like a boulder or a drop or anything like that. It literally is just a rough spot on the bottom. But I'm also throwing 6-pound line and a 16th ounce head into 50 to 60 feet. It's taking like 2.5 minutes to get to the bottom.
Welcome to my life.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But if they are there, I don't know if other guys have talked about this before, but smallies are pretty hard to see when they're on the bottom. I just don't think there's a way scope or anything is going to be able to handle that. Is as long as you get something down there super lifelike over the top of them, they will nuke it like almost 100% of the time. Yeah. And there's a dozen on the hard spot. But when you look with live scope, you're literally looking, you're like, is that something down there or not? And it looks like one down there. So
quick recap, because I mean, guys, we talked about this with where I fish, and it's 30 feet of water, but I use 2 combos. I use your basic setup, and then I use a heavy drop shot when I'm practicing, so I can hit as many hard spots as possible to see if I could flush one out, and then I'll mark it and come back with something. Because you're right, if you were trying to pre-fish with a cotton ball in 86 feet of water, it's a freaking nightmare. But you're right, with all the things Scope talks about, man, smallies in there or race down these river chains, when they get on those rocks in deep water, man, they're damn near invisible. It's crazy. Yeah.
It's honestly, it's just throw at the hard spot. Like, you just have to throw at it. That's actually a good idea. I've never even, I have heavier jig heads and stuff that I'll throw in, like heavy net and stuff. But what's been nice has been they've been refilling for months. And it's not anything that's like, back up, like it's really just finding a hard spot. It doesn't matter if it's in a gut in, the middle of a pocket way towards the back, like the last little bit of deep water, or it's literally like I look broken down in the middle of the lake where 20 feet away, it's 140 feet deep, but I'm finding a hard spot in 63 feet. And it's 10 by 10, but it's right on the drop, and it's, it's 2 miles away from where they spawn, but maybe that's just where they hang. So again, going back to the phrase with me and the buddies, like maybe these fish do this every year and they just don't get targeted. Cause I know a lot of I know a lot of people say the smallmouth disappear, but I think every year I'm getting more dialed on where the brown ones are. But dude, I'm catching some that are close to 5 pounds, which is awesome.
It's interesting about that, like the community effect, where it's like once one person kind of figures it out, they tell a friend, there's that domino effect, because they're probably always there. It's the same thing as people saying in comment sections, like, well, where are the 10 pounds largemouth? It's like, well, they didn't die off in Smith. They're still freaking there. You just need, the conditions have to be always like right to get those big old smart fish to actually commit. And we're just not right. We don't have those right now.
Yeah. And I would say on the condition side, I mean, dude, with throwing a light head that deep, if it's blowing 9 miles an hour, I can't even do it. Like, it's impossible. It's impossible. And then your catch rate is just going down and down and down. But yeah, that's been super, super fun. I do think it's because the water's dropped. I think a lot of the rock that you would crank is dry. It's been dry for 3 months almost. And I don't think it's going to take a ton to get them up there, because they all want to get up there and kind of do the crawdad deal. But I feel like at that substantial amount of time, like even if we get all this snow, or the runoff happens, a week after that, it's still going to take these fish a little bit of time to say, hey, something feels like it's changing and going up. And honestly, that deep, like stained water, none of that really matters in my opinion. In my opinion, it's freaking dark down there. Like, they're just feeling something, and I think that's where the lightweight probably makes the most sense, is they just feel kind of something that maybe was like floating to its death into the void. And then just kind of come and crush it. Because I can definitely tell when I throw a heavy head down there, it doesn't get the response. So,
well, we got a couple of good questions about that. 2 on Instagram. One of them is, how deep would these spots be if the lake was at full pool?
We're I think we're 4 feet low, basically. Okay. Average is what it has been. But you know what I'm going to say too, dude? It sure seems like I look at this app and I launch back-to-back days or like every other day, and it says the water rises and the ramp feels way shallower. So I don't know. I hope that this is as accurate as possible and the most up-to-date that it can be, but I've definitely scratched my head 2 or 3 times being like, oh, it's creeping up on 792, and it was low 791 yesterday, and I go to the ramp and I'm like, there's no water on this ramp compared to yesterday.
It's the same thing with the weather, where it says the app says it's going to rain. If you go outside, it's bluebird skies. Like, use your damn eyeballs, that is the best metric of all of it. Yeah.
So I would say, I mean, just add 4 feet. One thing that I've, again, going back to kind of electronics, and this is kind of something that we all minnow fish. I just kind of dedicated the last couple months to just like, okay, I'm basically just only going to go throw the minnow and see what happens. I got really good at some color schemes on the Garmin. We can go over them if you want to. Changing the, daily, I can change what depth my contour lines are showing and my depth shading literally based on the day. So like, I'm adjusting the daily threshold by 2.5 feet, 4 feet, 1 foot. And that's letting me find kind of those little nuanced 5-foot drops and stuff. But really I spent just a lot of time idling, and you and I've talked about this before. I've idled the whole lake multiple times in that like 30-foot less range. I have not done like 60 feet deep. I'm not finding a ton. Like, I'll tell you, in 2.5 weeks before the Cat Championship and the Bass Kings Championship, graphing, I probably graphed a total of 10 days. Like, most of the days, I bet you I found 25 like killer spots. So there's not a ton, but when you do find them, that's what I'm saying is if you do have the time to kind of go out there and do it, I think this is where a lot of the smallies are locked in on. Some big largemouth too. I'm catching solid 4s. Every once in a while I get a 5. But it's just a lot more time behind the graph. I should have done it when it's freezing.
Tactical Fishing Company is a veteran-owned fishing brand that specializes in soft plastics and hollow body frogs that are designed in-house. They collaborate with anglers across the country, giving you some of the best designs out there. If you haven't checked them out yet, you're really missing out. Their #1 selling bait is the MRE, Minnow Ready to Eat Hybrid Swim Bait. It flat out catches fish. Whether you're throwing it on your favorite spinnerbait or bladed jig as a trailer, or using it as a standalone finesse presentation, it's one of those baits you can keep tied on all day and stay confident in. And if you're chasing snakehead, Tactical Fishing Company has you covered. They make some of the most rugged, durable frogs out on the market today, from the Dragon Pop to my personal favorite, the Rizzard. When it's time to try and tame your next dragon, they've got the tools you need to make the day on the water memorable. So go support a veteran-owned business, fish with confidence, and make every cast count. Check out Tactical Fishing Company, link in the episode description down below. Alrighty, I gotta tell you about something that's been a game changer for me. Super Blue Stuff Pain Relief Cream. Look, I've had a rough life. 3 reconstructive shoulder surgeries, I had a horse flip on me and break my back, and I'm out on the water a lot. I get aches and pains. My shoulder starts to flare up after casting all day. My back gets tight from sitting in a kayak too long. My knees get achy from standing in the front of the boat. And my neck will start to hurt from looking down at the live scope all day. And now with the temperature dropping for the winter, it can get rough out there, let me tell you. I started using Super Blue Stuff way back in high school when I started getting injured playing baseball. And honestly, I don't go anywhere without it anymore. It's in my truck. I have a bottle of the roll-on in my boat. I also have one in a backpack that I always have with me when I'm going hiking or doing anything outside. The roll-on is super easy to use. Just roll it on whenever you're hurting and you're good to go. No mess, no greasy hands, and it works fast. What I love about Super Blue Stuff is that it's all natural. We're talking emu oil, herbs, botanical extracts, no harsh chemicals or junk you can't pronounce, and it actually works. And it doesn't have that insane burning sensation or super cold sensation. You just roll it on and forget about it. Right now, my friends at Emu Therapy are offering Fishing the DMV viewers and listeners 15% off any roll-on when you use the code BLUEFISH at checkout. That's Bluefish, BLUEFISH. Head over to bluestuff.com/fishingthedmv, link in the episode description down below, or call 866-571-BLUE. That's 866-571-BLUE. Trust me, your body will thank you.
Yeah, you should have done it when it was freezing. John Hamilton, what temps are you looking for to start moving back to more shallow water?
Water temps, is that what he asked?
Yeah, he asked, what temps are you looking for when the fish start moving back up?
So, contrary to the old book, it's the opposite. I do not give a crap about the water temperature this time of year until we have massive upswings. The only thing I really care about with water temps is if we have a big drop, because you're going to have a shad stun. But the bass specifically here, if we get a shad stun, the jerkbait bite's going to be psychotic. And if the water stains, let's say it snows as much as they're going to say, and it does stain, the jerkbait bite's going to be awesome for a little bit while this Arctic kind of cool is in. There's only been maybe 1 or 2 days that I've been out there where the shad are a little kind of funky or fishing or swimming a little bit slow. But to answer his question, if the water does rise, I would say 3 days after that, there's going to be fish shallow here, or more fish shallow. And if it's freezing cold on top of that, there's going to be some giant ones up shallow here after this storm. So
the other thing that's fascinating too is I think there's, in a vacuum, I think temperature, but it's also the idea that the lake is low. So if you have it fill up, that could potentially bring them shallow too.
There is bait shallow. Going back to the deep stuff, there's no bait around any of these hard spots that I'm fishing. There's nothing down there. There's no bait balls. There's nothing like that. There's definitely bait in the back of pockets. There's definitely bait way back on some of the flats and some of the main creeks. Most of it's stripers. I'd say probably 90% of it is stripers just gobbling everything up. But if the water does rise 2 or 3 feet and you get some of this rock back in there, you'll have bass move in there pretty quick.
And then you mentioned the snow. So with that said, I don't think we've talked about this yet. What the hell is it about snowstorms and fish that just turns them on compared to everything else? Yeah,
dude. I get pre-front summer rainstorms and stuff like that, but snow is just magical, bro. I don't know what it's gotta be. It's such a hard swing on the barometer. Maybe it's kind of the post front of what a snowstorm usually brings, which is Arctic air. So again, I'm not a fish, but if I can kind of jump into my fish brain for a second, if the water's 46 degrees today, it's going to snow in 4 days and then the water's going to drop to 42, you would want to eat as much as possible, because when it hits 42, you are going to want to be belly on the bottom, just chilling as much as you possibly could. And I've said this to you 100 times, dude. With the amount of time that I'm out on the water, the fish know what's coming in 2 or 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
They 100% know what is coming from a weather perspective, whether that's genetics of just over time of them understanding how weather patterns work. But I can progressively watch in the guide season. Great day of fishing, really starts tapering off post front day. 2 days of tough fishing. There's going to be a storm in 2 days. Fishing gets slightly better, really, really good. Fishing gets awesome. And it's repeat all guide season. So for me, the snow deal is, I think they can understand that after that initial drop, it's just going to get stupid cold, which that's what they're projecting. I mean, I think Tuesday our low is 6. And then we don't get above freezing until Friday. So if we get 2 or 3 feet of snow, dude, it's going to be here for weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be here for weeks. So, and then on top of that, you have what's going to extend the bite of that is you have the initial snowfall that's going to hit the water, which is going to cool the water. And then you're going to have the melt runoff, which is also going to cool the water. So we're going to have a couple weeks of pretty consistently cool nights mixed with really chilly and cooling water. So I suspect, again, the shad stun stuff's going to go bonkers. So a lot of jerk baiting, a lot of blade bait, a lot of minnow fishing, probably slower than all of us have been fishing it, maybe some A-rig stuff. But I do think if the forecast is right, I think Smith Mountain's probably going to be in the low 40s after this storm. So
what is that going to do to the spring? You think it's going to push it back?
Well, so not necessarily. Going to John's kind of question about like water temperature. So where you really need to watch is when we creep back up and we basically run into 50s. So it's kind of all the same areas, tactics. Once we kind of go over 45, maybe they start moving a little bit more, but they should be on the same stuff till about 45 degrees. And then as soon as we creep up on 50, whether that's in late February or March, that's when you see that next big turn of, okay, we can get off, say, like the jerk bait bite, the minnow bite, A-rig bite, and it turns into a crankbait, a jig, and a swim bait. So hard to say, if it stays 41 for a really long time and we don't get a big warming trend. I mean, 41 to 50 takes time. But as soon as we hit 50, I feel like the water temperature usually jumps up like a degree or so a week.
So when it comes to, just a couple of, we got another question here on Instagram about what makes good, and I'm just going to go straight with your question. Roman Drake says, what makes a good jerk bait bite in the wintertime versus a jig head minnow bite?
Wind, probably the number one thing. Obviously a minnow's super natural looking. A jerk bait is natural looking also, but it's got 9 hook points hanging off of it. Like, if you have clear water and they're not super committing to it, probably worth putting it down or downsizing your hooks or your line. Again, with scope, you can kind of tell, like they were eating it pretty good the last couple of weeks. And then the next day you go out, it's like, okay, well, they're not really interested. So, if the water gets stained, wind, that's where I would be picking up a jerk bait, probably more than the minnow. But I would use front facing to really kind of dictate what that's looking like. And then depth too. You can throw a minnow shallow. I don't do it a ton. I'll probably keep kind of trying to get better at that. But the big deal with here is if we do stain up, there will be fish on the rock veins and on the laydown and stuff. And having a jerk bait that can suspend and just sit there is way better than a minnow in that dirtier water. But here, wind is a killer deal. And then the jerk bait stuff, dude, the only real like modifications I do on the jerk baits is if the shad stun is going on, I do like my jerk bait to sink a little bit. So I switch the hook out. So I'll switch them to 5s and then I'll put a 6 I'll put a 6 in the middle just to kind of balance it out a little bit and make it actually sink slightly. Because when I see the shad out on the lake and stuff, it's kind of like twitch, 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 and then they kind of just hover and then very slowly kind of fall down. That's kind of one of the only modifications I do on the jerk bait stuff. So
we got Calderman, and Calderman, you just won a gift card to Tactical Fishing Company. Calderman on Instagram says, what makes you commit to going shallow and cranking in the winter versus going scoping? And then guys, get your questions in, and somebody else will win a gift card this time to Jake's Bait and Tackle. So Calderman, message me.
What is, before I answer that, what's that sponsor? Tactical what?
Tactical Fishing Company.
Nice. Just an online retailer or what?
Yep. Online retailer, military, out of the Carolinas, I think.
Oh, yeah. Number one, just to say it straight up, because this is the main answer, scoping gets boring as hell. And going to throw a crankbait is way more fun.
Sponsored by Garmin.
Yeah, sponsored by Cranky. Look, if I could throw a wiggle wart my whole life, that's all I would do. So for me, here specifically, I feel like this is, we'll use bugs as an example, my nemesis bugs, but like you can tell on a lake if the crankbait's good. Even if the water's clear and low, like it is now, like I'm still getting a crankbait every once in a while. But when the crankbait bite is on here, it should take you 30 minutes to catch a 5-pounder. Like there's enough good rock in here. There's enough channel swing banks. There's enough big smallmouth. There's enough stuff in here that if you go crank 15 rock veins and don't get a bite, it's probably not a thing. Maybe going up the river might change that a little bit to where you can do another 10 spots up there. But here specifically, if they're on it, it's the most obvious thing. It's the most obvious thing as far as fishing goes. The minnow deal, I still throw minnows on rock veins, and again, the deeper fish have been what I've been focusing on, but you can still catch them in that like 15 to 20 foot range right on the drops. Tossing the minnow, each day is different here. Wind plays a big role into the crankbait bite here. If I have no wind, but they're on a crankbait, I throw a silent. Like you can do these little kind of modifications and lighter line size and hooks and stuff like that. But for me specifically with cranking, I am confident enough to know that in this time of year, if you have prefrontal conditions and you go throw a crankbait for 2 hours and you get one bite, it's not happening.
And we got B-Cal. B-Cal, congrats on winning my tournament last weekend. So this Saturday should be a killer day for fishing. Yes. 100%.
Yes.
If you're smart enough or dumb enough to go outside.
Yeah, take your pick. Watch the weather, be safe. If you're going alone, obviously tell people where you're going, because people have died here before going fishing in the winter and slipped and can't get out. Yes, Saturday is going to be insane. I would try to get out as early as you could. I would fish through some of the snow at the beginning. But normally what I see when I do these kind of like snowy videos and jumping out there is like, once you're like 3-4 hours into the snow, it definitely tails off. But right up to when it starts snowing is when the biggest fish are going to bite. Make sure you're around either some bait or some really good looking structure. And then obviously be safe. So I'm actually going to get my boat tomorrow. I can't fish on Saturday, but I did have a buddy who has a dock slip that, is nice enough. He said, go put it on the slip in case we do get 3 feet of snow so you can go fishing. So
where's your boat?
So I run a 2008 Z520, so older Ranger, but she took some beatings over the last couple of years. The fiberglass lids on almost every lid got super soft. Like every time someone stepped on it, there'd be fiberglass dust on like my jackets and like the tackle and the rods and all that sort of stuff. So I bit the expensive bullet, and Ranger Mike did aluminum powder coated lids, and then I just had the boat recarpeted, did some Duradex spots just to help with drying and stuff. So she looks brand new on the top, and he did a killer job. So excited to get it back. I haven't had a boat for coming up on 2 weeks, so
that's pretty quick. And hey, it's still cheaper than buying a new Icon.
Yeah, and Ranger wouldn't even sell me lids. So Ranger Mike did a Ranger Mike did a phenomenal job, dude. I mean, I don't think I'm going to have to replace these lids I don't think I'll have to replace the lids, honestly.
Does he have like a business we can pimp out for him, or is he just like undercover? I'll put it in the re-upload, guys, if he's a legit business. Hopefully we didn't dox him.
Let me pull it up here. Hold on. I think it's Fishing Fab, but hold on. I will 100% tell you. But yeah, just, business use, buddy.
All right. No, guys, like that is something we're going to get somebody. I'm going to do an episode on buying used boats, because I feel like I have a hard time. Again, this is really killing if I ever get a boat deal. But yeah, it's just getting kind of cartoonish. Going to the expo and looking at some of these things. There was an Icon on sale for $100,000, and they had a pimped out one for $140,000, and it's like, and that's with no power poles or anything. It's like, holy crap.
I heard. It's Fishing Fab, so FISH and apostrophe Fab. But yeah, he did super good work. I mean, it takes a while to get them because he's obviously got to fabricate them and powder coat them and all that stuff. But no, so super pumped with that on the boat, and yeah, just rocking and rolling, rocking that boat as long as I can. Suzuki's rocking 850 hours, dude. It's been awesome motor. So just rocking.
What do you think of the Suzuki? Because I feel like they're really making a resurgence lately.
I mean, 4 or 5 more pros jumped on. Wheeler's running it. Dude, I know, like, I'm slow. I did put a Bravo prop on at the end of this year, and that helped an absolute ton. Like, I'm going 6,200 RPMs. I'm getting like 67. That in my heavy ass boat with 10-foot Raptors and a 8-inch jack plate, like, that's pretty solid. Again, if I'm going to fish the James ever and I got to make the run of the trick, people are going to be passing me the whole time. I don't really care. But the only thing I have had to replace is the trim motor, and that's not even a mechanical deal inside of the motor. So 850 hours. It's a workhorse. I mean, I don't run it at 6,200 RPMs, but maybe a couple times a month. But no, it's been a super good motor. I will definitely get another one, whether it's on this boat or the next one. That's what I'll probably be sticking with just because of guiding.
All right, got a couple more questions then. And then, guys, if you're on Instagram, I cannot, because StreamYard sucks, I cannot share Instagram comments on the screen here, only YouTube and Facebook. So if you want me to share your comment or whatever there, Calderman has another good one here. When do you know to switch from a 3, 4, 5-inch minnow to like a big 7, 8, 9, 10-inch minnow?
What's his name?
His name is Calderman Fishing.
Calderman?
God, I hope I said that right.
It's all good. Calderman. And I got a couple baits here too we can talk about too, Thomas. So wintertime, generally, you actually downsize. So for me right now, I have 4 minnow rods on the deck. I have a 6, I have a 4, I have a 6, 4, a 3, and a 2.5, or a 2.75. So for me, honestly, what I use as the gauge, similar to what Thomas was just saying, is I will chuck the big minnow first. If I get a good reaction, I kind of know that I can probably make that bite work. That is going to produce some bigger fish. But honestly, the best bait that has been working for me is a 3-inch minnow. So light line, lighter minnow, like it's all been really, really, really tiny stuff. So I would tell you to actually think the opposite route. I have caught more. Let me rephrase that. I have caught plenty of 3 and 4 pounders on the big minnows. I can say this with certainty. All the big smallmouth are coming on a 3 or a 2.75, and the biggest largemouth are coming on the 3. So I don't know why a fish would prefer a 3-inch minnow as opposed to a 6-inch meal, but for me in the wintertime, I'm actually having the opposite mind set of what you're having, which is I'm actually going to go smaller, faster. And my funny story from this, I'm going smaller, and this is really, really small. I fished the New River in, where was that? Somewhere in Southwest Virginia, like really, really far deep into Southwest Virginia. And I was there kayaking, and there was 2 or 3 dudes that showed up, and I watched this dude kick our asses on smallmouth all day. And when I met him back at the ramp, he was legit throwing a chartreuse, like 1.5 inch crappie jig on 4-pound test, flipping the exact same seams we were, like all this stuff in late fall. And he was fishing literally like, it wasn't even like crappie gear, dude. It looked like bluegill gear. And he was catching 20-inch smallies like left and right. And we were throwing like 3-inch swim baits and jerk baits and all the typical stuff. And that stuck in my mind. This is probably 10 years ago almost, but that stuck in my mind a long time ago on some of the bass that eat some of the tiny stuff. And you guys can search this on YouTube and see it everywhere on social media. You see these crappie guys throwing a crappie jig into a brush pile, and a 8-pound largemouth eats a crappie jig on a pretty regular basis. So I don't necessarily think it's a size thing. I would use the size thing to figure out how aggressive they're going to be that day. And have one on your deck for sure. But for me in wintertime, I'm going pretty small. Like here's for that Bass Kings Championship, I think I got third or fourth, but that is literally what I was throwing. So that's a 3-inch Sakamata shad. I mean, just tiny.
That is very tiny.
Very tiny. Very tiny. I don't hear that often. Oh!
Well, and was that also because you were targeting smallmouth too? Or you're willing to?
I was just getting more bites. I've just been constantly getting more bites on the smaller stuff. 1/0 hooks, just again, natural as natural as possible. So downsizing line, downsizing braid, downsizing everything so that the fall rate was just literally the most like cotton ball, like you're talking about, approach down there. So.
Let's see. We got guys are trying to keep up with the questions here.
The only other thing I would say on the minnow thing, to go back to his question real quick, if you have gizzard shad around, you should definitely keep throwing the bigger one. So if you go shallower and you're throwing like a 16th with like a 6-inch, or I haven't messed with an 8-inch Sakamata, but I'm definitely going to do it this spring, is like if you're back on the flats and you can understand what gizzard shad look like on scope or on side scan, I would definitely be throwing the bigger minnow then.
Yeah, and the gizzards are, I think more and more people, because of the glide bait craze, are kind of like keying in on that, I think more. Or it could just be that I have a lot of friends that do that thing. There it is. Yeah. Cameron Johnson, 7347. You just won a gift card to Jigs Bait and Tackle, brought to you by me. If Live Scope didn't exist, what would you be throwing right now for numbers or for big fish?
Either a jerk bait or an A-rig. With how this year is setting up. If the water was staying, I'd be cranking. Jerk bait or an A-rig. I would have a smaller A-rig on to go with kind of the small bait that we're talking about. So like a trick dart or something in that like 3.5-inch range. And then I would be going with something kind of like a bigger meal. So like and maybe something that can go deeper, like a 110+2. Definitely be throwing those channel swing banks, parallel and bluff walls, any isolated big laydown or any isolated big dock. On a sunny day, those fish like get into the brush. They'll come out and definitely crush something. Big floater docks on sunny days is really, really good. And then the A-rig deal, I'm not a professional A-rig fisherman. It's one of my least favorite ways to fish because I don't like losing $50. Is getting it close to the bottom, like a lot of the guys refer to as like dragging an A-rig on the bottom. What I have found best for me, even with live scope and not losing them, is I don't do a 5-hook. I just do a 3-hook and do 3 hooks on the top and dummy the bottom ones. That way, when your rig hits the bottom, that if you are dragging on it, it's really just the wires and the dummies hitting it. That seems to help a little bit without getting caught. But if you didn't have scope, I would just very similar fishing to the jerk bait, maybe some more flat fishing with the A-rig, but kind of casting an A-rig out, counting down as best you can guess. Very light heads is what I do with my A-rig. So sometimes I'm going as light as a 32nd, because you have to realize the weight of the A-rig is quite a bit. And I would say, along with the weather that's coming, I would definitely start lightening up your A-rigs, because the bait balls aren't going to be swimming around like crazy if it's 43 degrees or 41 degrees. But dragging that A-rig on the drops is what catches a lot of the big bags. I think here is just kind of slow rolling one around on the bottom.
How much do you think these fish move from winter to just pre-spawn? Is it a huge move or is it gradual?
It's gradual, and I don't think it's anything more than a drop at the mouth. And once the water hits 56 degrees, they just start hopping points back. You know, Smith Mountain MLF kind of showed this, and there was a quote from MLF that made a lot of sense. Like, our lake is big, but it's like a big little lake.
That makes so much sense.
So much sense. Yeah. Talk about JT commentary, right? It's like a big little lake. Is, you know, we have our, 6 or 7 like main feeder creeks. There are always fish. All species of fish are always in these feeder creeks 12 months out of the year. They're never not in there. Size changes, but you could come to Smith Mountain and only focus on those feeder creeks and probably do fine. Catch 14 to 18 pounds like on the regular. Where the guys that are really good here, where like, me trying to get guide clients on bigger fish is trying to learn those spots that are maybe like cuts with like 6 docks in them, or like, one big ass isolated lay down, or a tree top that's in a gut randomly down in Craddock. Like, those are the spots where you're finding people, or I'm seeing 5 to 9 pound class fish in that range. But as far as the transition from now, honestly, like Thomas, here's how I could see the next month go. If we get 3 feet of snow, there's going to be a massive rush of fish to the bank. If it stays high and stained, they're not going to go anywhere. And if late February turns into where all of a sudden we're getting 45-degree days, like pretty consistently, they're not going to leave. They'll be shallow from here on out if we get this weather storm. And then from there, it's just going to be how far back are they in the pockets.
It's crazy because it really shows you how in the era of forward-facing sonar, how much weather is to where you could have one of the best crankbait and spinnerbait springs at Smith in a while because of just how the weather played out a couple months ahead of time.
Yeah. Dude, the MLF tournament, I mean, I was on a different podcast. I apologize. And he was asking, it was Rich from Minnesota, my buddy, and he was asking kind of like what my take was. And I had said, someone's going to smash their ass up the river. Like, the shad spawn is like keying up, and Michael Neal smashed their ass that first day. Mm-hmm. But you guys can see just from that tournament, if you go watch the thing, it goes away in 3 days. Like, this lake is notorious for, holy shit, I'm on the best spinnerbait bite I've ever been on. It's been a decade since this has happened. And 3 days later, you cannot get a bite on a spinnerbait, and you just run home with your tail between your legs. Like, this lake specifically, I think is one of the more moody and tougher lakes to do, or just to stay on the really, really, really big ones consistently. So I don't know. We'll see. I really think I'm really excited to see what this weather does. And I hope it does stain them up, because I do think, like you were talking about earlier, Thomas, I do think we'll see 10-pounders in February and March if we have stained water here, for sure.
Yeah, this year really taught me how important weather is, because we had so much rain from like April to like June, and it blew out a lot of tidal fisheries. But we had 3 rivers that had the best smallmouth bags ever. I think the Upper Potomac had a 22-pound smallmouth bag, first time in history. It's like they were there.
Yeah.
But when it's gen clear in a drought, you can't get a 15-year-old smallmouth that's big to bite. You know, and sure. It really made me think about Smith, where there probably are a shit ton more fish that size, but everything had to click just right to get them to turn on.
Yeah. Yeah. So I do think it's going to be the next couple months. And just to reiterate, if it does do that, and you have this initial rise in water from the initial snowfall, because what's the do you know the conversion rate off the top of your head? Like, for every inch of snow, how much rain that is? Pull up the old chat.
That's what I was literally going to do.
Because if we get, let's say on the low end, we get 10 inches of snow, how much actual volume of precipitation is that compared to rain?
Well, snow is denser, so it's less.
Less?
Yeah, because ice is denser than water, wet water. Let's see, for every inch of snow.
Big small lake and wet water.
Water. Yep, that has been my TED talk. All right. What does the computer overlord say as it's thinking about this? Good rule of thumb: 1 inch of snow equals a 0.1 inches of water. So it's a 10-to-1 ratio.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
Science.
Well, then that's not that much. If we get 10 inches of rain, it's an inch, or 10 inches of snow, it's an inch of rain. But you would have, you're going to have, obviously we're going to have a ton of runoff, and West Virginia is going to get, all of our water runs from the Blue Ridge down. So it's not just, hey, how much does it snow around here?
Yep.
But the last forecast I saw was 26.5 inches for Smith Mountain. So just on Sunday.
That's wild. Saturday. Dude, that is wild. And then, like you said, you probably could quadruple that number if it's 0.1 times 5 or 6, because again, every mountaintop will be capped with snow draining into your basin. Yeah.
So it could be good, but obviously we're under the control of AEP as well, and people are going to generate a ton of heat while it's 0 degrees or whatever. So, but yeah, I think it's setting up. If we can get this storm, or I don't know if we'll get another crazy one after that, I think that will dictate how fast the fish move back and stay back. So can't believe it's January 20th already.
Guys, just to let you know, it's because my voice is blown to hell from this past weekend. I've talked nonstop. Don't worry. I use a massive mixer, so I am recording separate tracks. When I re-upload this, you'll be able to hear me. I am literally trying to scream right now. I talked to a ton of people in 3 days, so apologies right now. That's why Billy's just taking it over right now. We do have a couple of questions to get to that's pouring in. Let's see. Let's go with this one here. We got Denton Hale 1834. What jig heads are you using for your minnows? Also, loop knot.
Cool. 2 of them. And it's really just kind of weight size and honestly what I have. I have a ton of these in my boat. So I use a range roller from Owner. I like the hook. It's just like a good stout hook. And then what's different about the range roller, this will probably be really hard to see on here, but they pour their lead higher up on the line tie, so you don't have the full rotation of basically your loop knot or your line being able to kind of roll. So I tie a loop knot on that one, and then yes, I am sponsored by these guys, but I don't care. This is a badass minnow head. John did the eye roll. So a couple things: welded ring, so you don't have to tie a loop knot. But the hooks on this thing, they're the nano coated hooks, super sharp, great keeper on the bottom of the minnow there. So you got a double keeper, one on the lead, one on the actual hook. But these hooks are just ridiculously sharp, and he's got a bunch of good sizes. Also, I do think there is something to have a natural eye on the minnow head. So for the longest time, I threw a VMC Moon Eye, just because I thought it was a good idea to have a big eye on a bait, because some of these fish do just kind of lackadaisically follow the bait. So if I can show something on a roll that has that natural extra little bit of life to it, I think that does equate to some bites. And then I throw a lot of scent on these things too. I know some guys don't. I know I saw some post about Gunnersville with what just went down. Like, not a lot of dudes are using scent. I scent the crap out of my minnows because I absolutely hate when a giant one comes off the bottom and trails it for 80 feet and never eats it. And it's almost always when my bait doesn't have scent, or like I haven't rescented it in like 30 casts. But if I cast one out there gooped up and one does that, I can usually kind of feed it back to her and get her to eat. So those are the 2 heads that I've been rocking. There isn't really a need for a bunch of different heads, in my opinion. It's kind of a matte finish on John's on the missile bait eye roll, so it's not a shiny head. You don't really have to deal with any of that. The only time, or the only thing I would think of, or like other tackle that is interesting to me, is the Queen Tackle Stealth head.
Yep, brand new, I think, right?
Yeah, brand new, which is just, I think they're just, I don't know if it's oxidized or whatever their process is. Basically, they're selling it in the form of like, it's no reflection, it's less on the ping, like however they're going to sell it. But I could see a potential of maybe a shiny heads to too big of a deal. And then if you really want to get into like the nuance of it, tungsten's obviously smaller than lead. For some reason you think your fish are shy on the size of the head and you want to spend the big bucks, you can always go to tungsten, and just get, you know, more dense metal to have your head size be smaller.
Right on. All right, guys, we've got good questions here. Let's see. All right, here's just a statement by Gary Pratt over on the Facebook account that for some reason won't shift my comments over. God bless Meta. Yeah, my son and I launched and tore up the prop on a show probably a good 15 feet away from the marker. Billy, you remember me calling you? Thanks for your help. We got it worked out that weekend. Gary Pratt.
Yeah. He called me, Facebook audioed me and just said, "Hey, I know I don't know you, but can you help me out?" I try to do that as much as I can on the water. I'd want somebody to do that for me if I was stuck out there.
Yeah, that's just part about being, part of the boating community. Let's see. Doug Spatch, what are your best go-to colors in a snowstorm?
That's a good question. Brown ones, I'm going weird colors. So here's one sitting right here. Vision 110, almost full chartreuse, maybe a little bit of a clear deal just because our water is clear, but I would not be afraid to throw a full chartreuse bait, especially right as the snow's coming in. Snow clouds are kind of different in my opinion than say like a thunderstorm cloud. Like thunderstorm clouds are like super dark black. Snowstorm clouds are kind of like my sweatshirt, like just a muted gray. It just kind of mutes everything out. And then it's expansive. Rainstorms are expansive also, but when snow is falling, it is killing all of the light, not just kind of that rain reflection. So I'm around brown ones, I'm throwing wacky colors. If I'm going largemouth fishing, like French pearl reaction for megabass, that Hank Cherry yellow bottom one is super, super good. I've had a lot of success on that. Matte shad is another really good one that I like. I stay away from kind of the clear colors when it's that cloudy. I want something that's contrasty in the water, but still has kind of a shad pattern. And then kind of a random like offshoot one. I really like Northern Secret, which is a purpley, chartreusey, clear, glittery kind of one. Again, showing something different. I'm not sure what purple does under the water, but that one gets smashed a bunch. So
yeah, I don't know what it is about those hot colors, man, in the snow, especially like if you have a super, super clear lake and it's pouring snow. It's maybe it's because they can key in on it better. Like you said, there's that light deprivation.
Yeah. And I have, I throw the Nanahan a lot, which is their really small jerkbait, but it comes in a +2. I don't know what the color's called, but it's literally like, it looks like strawberry. Like it looks like a piece of candy, like a Jolly Rancher strawberry. I've had a lot of success with that color the last couple of winters on smallies too. So
all right, I think we got one more. I think we're all caught up on Instagram, guys. Here, get your questions in now because we're not going to be going for 6 hours because the sleep quill is definitely going to be kicking in. This will be a whole different show. We got Lake Anna weather. Snow to water is a 10-to-1 ratio. This storm with very cold air will probably be somewhat higher ratio of 12-13 to 1. So 12 to 13 inches of snow will equal 1 inch of water. Now, Lake Anna weather, because I know you are literally a meteorologist there at Lake Anna. Go check his stuff out. That is if it snows at Lake Anna. This is my thing. If it snows everywhere, including the whole basin, West Virginia, all that stuff, is it still 1 inch of water that will pour into the lake, or is that more? Either message the show or email me because I'm fascinated about that, because I have a hard time believing that it's just 1 inch if the whole area is covered with snow and all drains in there. But, I didn't go to school for that. Also, the cat tournament.
I think the higher model, yeah, we can jump on the cats, but I think the higher model too that everyone's looking at, and again, social media, who knows what the hell's real anymore, but someone was commenting that the European model that everyone's freaking out about is AI. And that it's like success rate is like, we'll see. And so I'm also sitting here like, oh God, here we go. 30 inches of snow is going to turn into 1.8. Everyone's just going to lose their mind and never trust anything ever again.
Dude, the whole AI thing, we could talk forever about that, about what they're doing with AI, because it's so dumb. It's they're going to dumb it down on purpose and have like paid tiers. So like, what's the point of even using it?
Yeah, I know, ads and everything. I told Taylor, I said, funny, none of these businesses can actually make money. They just have to add everyone to death. So
let's see. All right, here we go. Here's a science question. Good question. Depends on the basin. Lake Anna Basin is mostly composed of areas above the split. Not sure about the basin for Smith Mountain Lake. All right. The storm should help the lakes recover quite a bit. Okay, so I guess what you're saying is it could be more than 1 inch if you count everything above it. Cool. I think that's what you said. Kat, we can finish up there. How did you feel about what you did, your finish, compared to prep and everything and your execution?
So I'll throw Will under the bus. Wait, was that the one before? I don't know. Will missed a key fish. He's probably not going to listen to this. Will missed a key wheelwort fish on one of the tournaments. I don't think it was a champ, though. I think it was the one before that, where we minnowed up. We had 19, I think. And then he lost like a 5 or 6 pounder at the boat, but it's because he doesn't fish enough anymore. That's what I'm saying. So again, going back to kind of my approach for those tournaments was I stuck deep the majority of the time. What's wild about the smallmouth deal and the fish that are just refilling there is I calculated it out the other day talking to a buddy. For the 15 days practice and the tournaments over the last, we'll call it 30, 40 days that I've gone out, I've had 9 20-pound days doing that 40 to 60 foot depth. So I felt really good going into it as far as okay, this is definitely going to give me that 20-pound mark. And we hadn't seen those 23 to 26-pound bags yet. So I was feeling pretty good on it. I will say, going back to the guy that was asking about big minnows versus small minnows, that 3-inch Sakamata shad was key. This was another one that I ended up tossing a lot, is the Echo. This is a 2.75 bait. Again, seeing dudes at the ramp being like, this is what I'm throwing. They're like, have fun crappie fishing. Kind of in that size range. I threw this Hayes ST from Megabass quite a bit. Again, like supernatural profile, just trying to be as natural as possible. The Bass Kings tournament, I think we ended up like 5th or 6th. Minnow fish just kind of slowly weren't biting, and then you kind of run into the okay, well, there's nothing shallow, and you've practiced for, here's the dilemma of practicing too much. You practice too much, and then you go, I haven't caught a fish shallow in 4 days of practice. And then you go, okay, well, 17 and a half, 19 feels good. And then someone has 22 and they say, oh, I fished shallow and I had 6 bites. So that's the dilemma of being a guide on the same lake as you tournament fish and that. So that was that. And then the Bass Kings, I was super confident about because I had a 22-pound bag of brown ones. And that was a couple days before the tournament. And luckily I was able to get 3rd on that one, because I caught a right over 4-pound largemouth with 6 minutes to go at a spot. But I had a 432, 435 smallmouth that tournament. In the Bass Kings team tournament, I had a 4 3/4, almost 5-pound smallmouth. Those brown ones have definitely been helping me. But yeah, I locked into the minnow just because I hadn't found or seen the Erig deal, the jerkbait deal. None of that stuff was going on. But now that we've kind of turned that January corner, it looks like, the regulars are catching that 20, 26-pound bag, 23-pound bag, 22-pound bag, that type of stuff. So I don't think, me personally, I have yet to catch like an 8-pounder on a minnow. I can catch plenty of 4-pounders, tons of 4-pounders. 5-pounders are somewhat hit or miss, a 6-pounder every once in a while, but I'm yet to catch that 7 to 9-pounder. And now that bite's kind of going on here, I don't think you can go just throw them in all day. You got to go change it up and try to connect with something bigger. So, which is hilarious to say that 20 pounds doesn't even get close. So,
hey, that's a good problem to have. I mean, This was the only lake in our ranking series this year that got a perfect score. I think when we did our tier list. So
nice.
It's definitely it's the time of Smith. I think the next couple of years we should see it improve a couple more years. I think in a row.
Yeah.
So
random question for you, and I know we want to get off so you can go night. What do you think the BFL will be with a 3-hour consecutive deal for weight? we'll probably talk before this too, but I want to hear your thoughts now.
Oh, I mean, if they actually play by the rules, or if they don't play by the rules.
Let's assume everyone's playing by the rules. 19.
I think 22 pounds because it depends on the weather. I really
Yeah.
do think it depends on the weather. If it was last year where they were kind of pushed deep still, yeah, I think yeah. But you could still hit it either at the at the spawn or they're up shallow because of the water conditions, and that's the asterisk. Like it which I really hope they're out deep, because then people think it's like a really stupid format, versus if they push them up shallow, then they're like, oh, look, the format's fine. They can still catch them deep, whatever. I don't know.
I'll agree with you there. I think if it's 3 hours and they're out deep, I think 19's plenty. If it's a mag grab fight, it's still going to take 22.
Oh, dude, 100%. Was it 2 years ago that they caught him? Like it lined up perfectly for the for a spawn tournament. I think it was 2 years ago. I had the guy that won that. Yeah, I think it was. So I don't know. We will see. Why don't you fish tournaments off of Smith? Why don't you go like to Bugs and beat them up there?
Well, that place is a demon hole of hell. So please pick anywhere else, dude. Honestly, I think I kind of want to start going to Anna a little bit. Would be fun.
You should. It's taking 30 pounds to win almost every week.
No, it looks super, super fun. I've never even been there. I think I've driven over it once, maybe leaving a wedding or something. But, dude, maybe if you're still doing this podcast in 3 to 5 years when I don't have so much going on, but yeah, it would be fun. I'm interested to see what the BFL like turnout is and all that. I know Bass Kings was, in my opinion, successful as like a just starting deal as far as a solo trail goes. And I like doing those, and Kevin Dawson runs them and he runs a good show. And then the cats are just kind of more fun or whatever, but I don't know. I talked to Buddy Lannon about maybe doing one of the big basses on a different lake, and seeing if we could line that up to go try that. It'd be fun to go chuck big baits for a boat.
Oh yeah, dude, that'd be a lot of fun.
Or a 2.5-inch minnow.
Dude, the crappie stuff is getting. I've started to interview more and more crappie fishermen. I entered like 2 or 3 at the expo, and it's like, holy crap, they are literally doing a couple years ahead of time what is taking over bass fishing now. It's wild how that's working.
Dude, and they probably all caught giant bass. Dude, How many crappie guys on Bugs have caught 8-pound largemouth?
Oh yeah,
or 5-pound spots. Like it has to be a regular thing for those guys.
I'm gonna get shot for saying this, but I've a sound mind. I didn't Minecraft myself, but yeah, the crappie big bass connection is huge, because the fact that crappie spawn before largemouth, but they share the same cover, and there's a reason that they catch those big bass when crappie fishing. It's not just because of the crappie jigs; it's because the big ones are following those schools of crappie in. Yeah. So yeah, you know who you are, Aiden. Don't kill me for that. But anyway, what else you got coming up? What can we pimp out, link, and all that jazz?
2026. I mean, the last 3 years have obviously been super good with guiding. I love coming on here, dude. I usually get a couple trips from people. If anybody wants to talk about good times of the year and stuff like that, they should hit me up. A couple things on the website. Last year, I did a subscription deal. So if you go to my website, smithmountainlakefishing.com, you can sign up for the monthly fishing report. It's a simple way to get the baits that I'm throwing. I'm a super transparent guide. I'm telling you what's working. I'm telling you when it sucks and did not come, and what's been the issue with that. But there's a lot of good info on there. And then as far as next year, I'm still taking a few sponsorship spots if there's anybody that's interested in that. I'm touching or having clients in the boat and having customer contacts and stuff like that, upwards of 150 trips plus a year, sometimes close to 200, usually 2-3 anglers in the boat. So there's a lot of impact, and then the website gets a lot of traffic. So if you got anybody that's interested that is in the whole DMV area that thinks there's a client base that is coming out with me on the lake, happy to chat.
What is your end goal then? Because you said in the next couple of years you're going to calm down. So what are you going to do? Just retire?
No, dude, I just want I mean, honestly, like, we're super, super blessed, dude. We have crazy work ethic, both me and Tay, but with 2 kids, your priorities change quite a bit. Like, I've watched Beauty and the Beast twice already today.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's like affecting your brain a little bit.
Dude, Charlotte knows the song already, the first song. Not all the words, but like she knows the last couple words. Dude, I know you don't have any kids, but the one thing I will say is like the neurons connecting at night and then waking up the next day and knowing that it's written in their brain permanently for the rest of their life is a miracle. Like this kid just like learns 2 or 3 words, says them 3 or 4 times that day, has no idea how to use them in the sentence or like the context for them, wakes up the next day, uses it in a sentence. And you're just like, what the hell? I said it to you twice. It's just a miracle, dude. It's awesome. But no, fishing's locked in, dude. I did this as I've talked about this before. I did this as a side hustle 5 years ago. I only wanted to do like 30 trips, and now it's a full-time deal, obviously. Real estate, that's I guess another thing I could bring up real quick. The real estate market is hopefully going to take a turn to kind of correct slightly and kind of help some people. So if anybody wants to talk real estate down on the lake or anywhere else, including you, then they can reach out to me too, because I do real estate as well on the lake and kind of surrounding area. And then, yeah, dude, we're just living, man. What's that, McConaughey?
Matthew McConaughey, God rest his soul. He's still alive, but I like to say that. But yeah. Speaking of life, family, houses, and if anyone knows of a procurement or entry-level procurement or a buyer's job, since I might be getting into that, please let me know, because there's no entry-level jobs left in the United States. So besides that and OnlyFans, go to my Patreon, because you're the only reason I'm not behind a dumpster at Walmart doing ungodly things for $20. You guys are quite literally keeping this mortgage paid. God bless all of you. I'm going to link everything in the episode description. Again, I'll re-upload this because I sound like crap. So the re-upload version will sound better, and I'll have Billy's all of his links and crap in there as well. So go do all that stuff, guys. Enjoy your evening, and we'll see you guys next time on Fishing the DMV. Thanks. Bye. You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your host, Thomas Ahrens. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jake's Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia, and Tactical Fishing Company.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.